The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at theeppodcast.com.
I will tell you one thing about last week and the EP Podcast. If a local podcast could go viral, that's what that was last week. If there was Evergreen Park Twitter, we would have been trending 1, 2, 3, and 4. Friday, the EP Podcast broke every download record that it had over nearly 3 years of existence by noon, and it only got bigger throughout the day. If somehow you didn't listen to Friday's episode, and likewise the Monday episode that was likely the catalyst for Friday, it is everywhere podcasts can be found and always at the eppodcast.com on demand. Every episode brought to you by the First National Bank of Evergreen Park, iconic building, 95th and Pulaski. And they want to remind you that it is never too early to start teaching your kids about money. This year, help them take the first step towards a healthy financial future with a junior savers account from First National Bank of Evergreen Park. With a junior savers account, children earn interest on every dollar they deposit so they can watch their money grow. Show your children how rewarding saving can be. Set them up for success. Learn more at bankevergreenpark.com/JS. No minimum required to open. Member FDIC. We talked with a mayor and one of two challengers going for the mayor's office in the election on April 6th last week. And basically, I couldn't walk into anywhere for the last couple of days without somebody asking me about it. I had to turn off my cell phone.
Yeah.
We have Kelly Burke coming in here. She's running for mayor of Evergreen Park. And in order to bring some, zen and just to make it an easier night, I brought in John Brand and he brought beer. So I figure that the show is going to go very smoothly because John is here. Welcome, John. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Chris. How are you?
Hey,
Hannah, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Kelly Burke, who is the state representative for this area and is running for mayor of Evergreen Park. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Chris.
No problem.
Good to see you in person, Hannah.
Yeah, good to see you.
Nice gift. I mean, this is the first time I've gotten a plant at the bar when we have a guest in, but this is actually kind of cool. Are these actual shamrocks? Like, what is it that you brought in
Actual
here?
shamrocks. I think you water them with Guinness.
Don't tell him that, he'll do it.
All right. So we are all sampling right here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar in my basement here in Evergreen Park. We are all sampling brews from Open Outcry, our nearby brewery. We don't have a brewery in Evergreen Park. Maybe that's something you can get on if you become mayor. Okay. I mean, think about it. I'd love to get one in here.
I'd like to do more than think about it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we can get, while John's here, let's make a match. Okay. That's all I'm saying for Open Outcry 2. Okay. Like, yeah, Pizzeria Uno and Due. I want like 2 Open Outcries, but we'll get into that later. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're tasting first? You brought a couple of options, but I love this one. It's a dark one.
The first one we're drinking is our Price Gap Porter. It's an English porter. Not too sweet and aggressively bittered. There's definitely some robust charred characters in it, but it's not as much as you would expect in a stout. So easy drinking, darker beer for folks that are a little scared of darker beers. I would start out with this if you're not ready to jump into the stouts.
I like
drinking beer.
Yeah, I like porters. I'm more of a stout guy, but I like a good porter. This is a good porter. I like it. What kind of beer does the candidate Burke enjoy? Like, what do you normally have, Kelly? What do you normally sit back and
I usually
and
have
kick
the
back with?
Speculator when I'm at
and
Open Outcry.
Look at this. She's like, I've been to Open Outcry.
Oh.
I'm naming one of John's beers. I love it.
When we know that Miss Burke's coming in, we usually pull on a second bartender, and we station that second bartender at the Speculator tank all night.
I love it.
But I am enjoying this. I usually don't. I like Speculator, and do you have a red? Like a red?
We have a couple. You're probably our accountant, our hoppy red.
Yes, the
Yep.
accountant.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've had this one. It's delicious.
Yeah, thank you.
But I usually drink Coors Light.
You like the fact the label turns blue when it's cold, right? Be honest. That's what you're into. You're like, look, my label changes colors. That's what it was?
Yeah, my usual is going to the mountains with
So
Coors Light.
if we had cold activated packaging, you would drink that as well at Open Outcry?
It sounds like a gimmick I would go for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna try this here, and we'll get back in with John in a second. So let's talk a little bit about before we even get into the candidacy. Let's talk about what you've actually been doing. That's actually a good idea. You've been helping out with the whole postal service thing.
Yes.
And this has been something like that you're actively working on for Evergreen Park. We had the mayor on Friday, and among other things, he did touch on the fact that things are starting to look up. There was a ton of mail delivered all across Evergreen Park on Sunday. There seems to be extra people that have come into the village, and it seems like something is getting fixed, right?
Right. That's a great summary. So Mayor Sexton and I really pulled out all the stops for this. We heard a lot of complaints starting in the late fall, and we started to, bring our complaints to the post office, and then, Christmas happened with just the deluge of packages. It was rough for those carriers, and then the snow, and so it was a combination of all these things. Plus, they are down on personnel, so it was just terrible. The service was deplorable. A lot of different factors going into it. So Mayor Sexton and I really mobilized our federal representatives. Congressman Rush's office has been great. Senator Durbin's office, got them on board, escalated the severity of the issue with them. And we've been able to, with their help, to really connect with the post office brass, get some more people in here, and really get them to, put all hands on deck. So they were working on Sunday. They've gotten some extra people. They promise us that we'll continue to have these extra people till things are straightened out. And, just reading the news or seeing things on the news, we're not the only area that this is happening to.
No, that's what makes it incredible, because I was listening to Pat Tomasulo, who, WGN comedian. He's got his own podcast now, and I was checking him out. And he was talking about the mail problems all throughout Chicago and Chicago suburbs. It's not just here, but you guys, you seem to have figured out the blueprint to get it fixed quicker than all the other areas around here.
A lot of kicking and screaming, for sure. And shout out to the manager of the Evergreen Post Office, Janice Hall. She is trying as best as she can. She's hamstrung by, the weather and some of her personnel issues. And, she can't magically create people to come in, and work. She's had a couple folks on who got injured, and she's scrambling to replace that. So when one carrier is off, somebody's got to take over their route. So I'll give her a lot of credit for being a real willing partner to get this done, because she wants her station to operate well too. So
you got that fixed, and now you also have to kind of look at like what you're going to do if you become mayor, right? And I'll be honest with you, I've had a hard time getting answers like party platform stuffs from the other side. Like they don't like red light cameras. That's the only thing I've gotten so far. Okay. But what do you have like in the first, few days, in the first few months? I know we're all really happy with a lot of things going on in Evergreen Park, but are there things that your campaign and what you're looking at and saying we need to do something when we get in the door? There are certain things we want to attack right away.
Yeah, sure. So the first order would be to just step up our efforts on economic development and look at what new businesses we can attract. We do have some retail space along Western and along 95th Street that we need to fill. So just really looking at businesses that we want to have here that will fulfill the needs of our neighborhood, and also people who come to shop, and really try to find some support for our hospitality industry. I mean, we've got John here. It's just been, difficult. The understatement.
Yeah, it's been rough, right, John? I mean, you're starting to come out of it, but it's one of those things where it was rough in there, really rough.
We've talked about it on your show the last year. Yeah, it's been a long year for sure.
Well, and not every business has the creativity. I mean,
He's got a truck. He's got a merchandise shop.
He's got sheds.
He figured he's got cabins on his roof so that he could so he could figure out how to get people in there but still be able to space them right. He figured out the whole delivery thing. He bought the place next to him and put the investment in to have a takeout window. The guy had Santa Claus in the back of his truck driving around and handing out beer and Easter bunny and everything else. I mean, this guy did everything he could throughout this entire thing to keep his business going, and really he could write a book, I think, coming out of it. And I think he should, and I think he will, because he's going to make an awful lot of money back explaining to people this is what you do when the going gets tough by John Brand.
I'm not writing a book. My application submitted for the Postmaster General. Maybe you can expedite that. I'd rather do that than write a book.
time for your EP podcast, Word on the Street, brought to you by my good friend Tom Walsh at Edward Jones Financial on the corner of 111th and Kedzie. You got questions, he's got answers. 773-779-0023. The Youth Department will offer its second open house night this Tuesday, March 9th, 6 to 8 p.m. High school students, their families invited to stop by, check out the room. They got everything. Flat screens, video games, pinball, arcade games, foosball, pool tables. A really cool place for kids and young adults to hang out, and they're doing it safely. If you have any questions, if you want to reserve a spot at the open house, 708-229-3377. The Evergreen Park Recreation Department Candlelight Theater put up a recorded performance of the thriller Sorry Wrong Number just this past Sunday. Grab it on demand at evergreenpark-ill.com. And you heard about it on Friday, mass vaccination site opening up at the United Center. Who was allowed to go to it has changed, and the good news is it still includes Evergreen Park residents. In fact, all in Cook County can still use that site when they have shots available. ZocDoc.com/vaccine. That's ZOCDOC. Coming up, more with John Brand and Kelly Burke, and also the head coach of Evergreen Park High School football. Keep it here. Building relationships, supporting the community, and service. These are the things that Country Financial stands for. They're more than just an office you may pass by as you drive through Evergreen Park. They're neighbors who lend a helping hand and support the fabric of your community, including charitable organizations, sports, financial education, and civic organizations. And since Country is already your neighbor, they want to get together and chat. Call your local Country Financial representative, Mike Thauer, today at 708-425-1559 to talk about the things that are important to you and how he can help you protect them. Joining us on the phone line right now for the first time of what may be many times, because they have a really weird schedule this year, and I think people are interested in the fact that they're back and taking the field again. Evergreen Park High School football going to be playing here this spring, and we've got the head coach on the line with us for the very first time, Coach Jerry Verdi. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well, Chris. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Listen, anytime. I'm kind of excited about this. You know, anytime that I see something new with sports, like a new type of tournament. Like I didn't necessarily like the way that things went for Major League Baseball last year, but they had the expanded playoffs, and it was interesting. Like as a one-off, it was interesting. I find spring football as a one-off very interesting this year. I'm curious about how you feel.
I feel the same way. It's all kind of new territory, for all of us. Realistically, and we don't know how exactly the weather's going to react. Think about all the the rainouts and things like that baseball has, particularly early on in the season. I answered this question from a reporter just a couple days ago, and I want to give you my second part of the feelings about this is I really do think it's a blessing. The fact that we are having football this spring, we have seniors here that have worked very hard for the last 3 years, and I wasn't in any of those meetings downstate or anything like that, but you can imagine it probably came pretty close to them not being able to play football their senior year, and that would have really been a travesty. I mean, it would have been. We get 6 games, 5 out of the 6 are conference games, and the one is a crossover. And we're going to approach them all like they're little mini bowl games. So we're extremely excited.
So I tried to figure out the schedule, and I went on something, and they got a couple of TBAs, and it looks like it's more than 6. So can you run down? Do you know off the top of your head what your schedule is so far?
I don't have it right in front of me, but I can explain exactly what happened. Our conference went right to the what it would have been weeks 3 through 8.
Okay.
And just kept it solid. And so we're going to open up against Revis on March 19th. And then our week 2 will be against Bremen. And then our week 3 will be against Argo. And we start the season all 3 games at home.
What's it going to look like? I'm kind of curious. Like I've seen NFL games, everybody on the sidelines wearing a mask, but the people that are out there playing don't have them on. I can imagine it could be difficult, playing football with another thing over your face. What do they have to do? What's different that we're going to see this spring than what we would normally see?
Well, you hit it right on the head. Everybody on the sideline is going to be in masks, and that's and we're going to hold to that, and that's going to be really strictly enforced. We know that for a fact. What the IHSA has come out with was originally the idea was that the players would have to wear the masks over the ears, in their helmet, and would have been kind of a whatever you got, wear it kind of thing. Whether it was going to be, and what I mean by that is maybe it would have been like a paper mask for some kids. Maybe it would have been a really nice Under Armour mask if you've seen those for some. And what the IHSA came out with was they said it was going to be all right if the masks were on the face masks themselves. So that we're going to actually be able to, they're made with the Velcro, to put the masks inside of the helmets themselves so the kids always have them on. And we always leave our helmets on for the most part anyways. So the kids will just be leaving their helmets on from beginning to end, and they will have their masks on, and that takes any possibility of germs, hopefully of germs being transmitted during the play, at least in theory.
I'm sure you got to see the reaction of your guys when they got to finally participate in something and the weight that must have come off their shoulder. But I'm wondering, what your feeling is. I mean, do we need to get all these kids back out and doing stuff? It seems like you'd be on board with that, seeing as how you're coaching a football team that's going to be out there.
From the CDC health standpoint, that's not really an area of expertise that I'm going to even try to have an opinion on at this point in time. But I can tell you that high school athletics and athletics in general are extremely important. They're important for not only physical well-being, but they're important for mental well-being. And, I stood in front of our players after our second indoor practice, and I said these exact words. I said, there's people out there that say that what we're doing isn't important, and I'll tell you from my own personal opinion, for myself, that it absolutely is. The guys are locked in. They're committed. They're happy to be together. They're happy to be playing. They're happy for the camaraderie, the teamwork, and the interaction. And I mean, it really is. It is all part of that. It's just as much for our mental well-being as it is for physical well-being for these young people to be doing something, being active, and It's hugely important.
What does this season look like for you? What is your goal as a team, and how do you think you're going to perform this year?
I hate to give the old coach's answer, but this particular season, it's definitely true. There are no playoffs, but as I told you before, every one of these games, in my opinion, really is a blessing. When we were sitting here in January, and the state actually kept pushing back meetings for when decisions were going to be made. And I'm not trying to badmouth the state. It was a very difficult situation. The governor was waiting, the IHSA was waiting for the governor, and the governor was waiting for statistics, and so on and so forth. But with each passing day, the likelihood of us having a season seemed to be slipping away. And when they finally came out and told us, we're going to do this, you're going to have 6 games, we couldn't have been any more happy, and I mean that. But with it being a 6-game season, with it not being playoffs, we really will be approaching each game like they're mini bowl games, and we'll take things, one game at a time. We're extremely optimistic with the group we had. Last year on varsity, we made the playoffs. We were 5-4, and we started 10 sophomores on varsity. And that's a really big deal. The sophomores that were starting for us were on a freshman team that had gone undefeated. So we're really excited to have those sophomores now be juniors with the very important seniors. And we have a small senior class, but the seniors we have been the epitome of dedication and commitment And so we're very optimistic on how we're going to do with our 6 games. We have talent. We've got really good team speed, and we're excited. We really are pumped up to get this thing going, because we know we have a pretty good team, and depending on how hard we work and how things click, that'll dictate how well we do.
Good luck to you and the team, and we would love it if you would check in with us throughout the season and tell us how things are going.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you very much for having me.
This is Kelly Burke. I'm running for mayor of Evergreen Park on the Good Government United Homeowners slate, along with Clerk Kathy Aparo and trustees Norm Anderson, Mark Phelan, and Carol Kyle. We are all longtime village residents, and we've been bringing you honest, efficient, and experienced government for 20-plus years. Honest, efficient, and experienced government, the kind Evergreen Park residents want and expect. Evergreen Park has safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, beautiful parks, and updated facilities. We have thriving commercial development with more to come. Our Good Government team has helped make Evergreen Park a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Let's keep it going. Vote for Kelly Burke and the Good Government United Homeowners team. The election is April 6th, but early voting starts on March 22nd.
This ad was paid for by the Good Government United Homeowners Party.
All right, sitting down here at the 9-Foot Homemade Oak Bar. Hannah, next we got Kelly Burke. We've got John Brand from over at Open Outcry. We're going to try one more beer here before we get back to the questions. But John, why don't you tell me a little bit about this beer, John? What are we drinking here?
All right, so this is our American IPA called The Grace. Crystal clear IPA, aggressively bitter. Hops give you some citrus-based notes in there. It's a nice, approachable, easy drinking IPA. It's not a hazy IPA, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get Hannah to drink it. But
I'm guzzling it.
Hannah's becoming an IPA drinker.
I asked them, they're like, I can't believe you like beer this much. Like, just IPAs. I love IPAs.
You've come a long way since we met. When we first met, you're like, I don't know about this IPA.
That's all I drink
stuff.
now. I brought IPAs over here.
She's a huge fan of IPAs, and yesterday posted on Facebook that she may need to go a size higher. And I was like, because you're drinking IPAs all the time. That's exactly what I told her.
And wearing yoga pants during COVID.
Like my pants had to get bigger when I started drinking IPAs all the time.
This beer, by the way, was named after a woman named Grace Hellslop, who was the first, and as you know, Open Outcry, our branding and everything is wrapped around the financial markets. I did that for a long time. But Grace was the first woman in the United States to hold a seat on a U.S. exchange. So we named a beer after her.
And it's women's sister.
Yeah.
Look at that. Nailed that one. That's amazing. All right. Very good. It's good. I love it. And Kelly's not very much of an IPA drinker, but, she's running for election, so she loves it.
I'll drink whatever.
Okay? Yeah, exactly. All right. So you're getting ready here. You're getting into the home stretch. You're a month out from the actual election. How do you feel? How's it going? What can we expect other than the most awesome koozie I've ever seen, which is elect Terry Burke, first gentleman of Evergreen Park?
I brought an extra.
Did you bring one? These things, I've seen them in bowling alleys and bars.
Oh my God.
Even places outside of Evergreen Park, they're popping up. These things have become like the viral koozie of the entire area. People are trying to get their hands on these things to elect your husband first gentleman, and I think they're a riot.
You can imagine how thrilled he is. He's almost forgiven me.
Oh, is this your idea?
No.
Okay.
One of his friends has a printing business and came up with them, and he went to meet them a couple weeks ago for a happy hour, and he presented them, and it's just
and the guy was like, and I made thousands of them.
It's just kind of taken off from there. Yeah, no. He's ready to kill me.
What would he wear on the inauguration day?
Yeah.
What
how would he
color?
dress? Who would he wear? How would that work?
I've met him before. Probably Gucci.
Yeah, probably Dockers and a shirt. Dockers and a golf shirt, probably.
All right, so you're getting close. How's it look right now? How do you feel? What are you doing over the last month?
So it looks great. We've been doing a lot of work. There's a lot of prep work. You got to get your messaging and your materials and all that set. I have, and it's been difficult because of COVID. You haven't had big events, right? So how do you reach people in the meantime? So I've spent a lot of time over about the past 6 weeks, almost every day, just phone calling people. And
which makes sense because there are some people that aren't going to want to come to their door. That makes
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I've had some great conversations, generally incredibly positive about the village. One of the things I've heard from some of the younger people I've talked to is that we need to step up our social media communications. This is how people communicate. This is how people learn about what's going on in the village, different programs, preschool sign up, softball sign up. When is the farmer's market? They want to see it on Twitter. They want to see it.
Or they could just listen to the podcast. Listen,
Or
don't be putting me out of business, Kelly. I don't like this idea at all.
But they need to know more than once a week. And but here's the thing. This isn't necessarily how I communicate.
Right.
So it's interesting to have somebody tell you, this is, the 30-somethings, this is what they, are looking for. And, you got to meet people where they are. I heard also quite a few people wanting to know, not necessarily specifics, but wanting us to become more environmentally conscious as a village and more green. And so people talked a lot about how can we increase our recycling.
Close down 99th Street, turn it into a park. I'm down. Let's do it. Okay? Just put big giant potted plants in the middle of the street. That's what I want. Only bicycles down 99th Street and down 91st. And that will take care of all the people that are tired of people cutting through their neighborhood at Mach 10.
It sounds like we have a transportation commissioner
there you go.
Here. And we've the past year I worked with our public works department to get a tree planting program going.
Okay.
And we partnered with Open Lands, which does through grants. So we only had to provide the manpower, and the public works had done kind of a tree survey a couple years back, and so they looked at areas that are lacking trees. So there's so many benefits to trees, not only aesthetically, but health wise. It provides value to your homes. It sucks out all the pollution. They're just great, and we have some areas that are less greened up than others. So we did a.
So this isn't just a park. This is like taking care of the streets and making people making other homes look nicer and increase property value.
Exactly.
Almost.
So so these would be residential plantings. So we did it for 20, and then we just got the grant again for 21. So we're working through that. They're not usually, they do a spring and a fall planting. Might only be a fall planting. But we're working through that, and we've been very cautious about the budget this year just because of COVID, and you weren't sure where our sales tax receipts were going to be and things like that. So I'd like to take a breather, see where we are in the fall, and if we can somehow supplement this grant program with some of our own funds to get even more people who want them to get more parkway trees. I'd love to see that.
Imagine one day, out of nowhere, you need your car towed. Who are you going to call? You have no idea. Right, because none of us think about that until it actually happens. So I'm going to give you a name, Dreamers Towing and Recovery. Located in Evergreen Park, Illinois, they will tow your vehicle, locally or at a long distance, at a very affordable price. What happens when your car needs a jump start? Dreamers Towing and Recovery. What happens when you're locked out of your car? Dreamers Towing and Recovery. You got a junk car, you don't know how to get rid of it, and you just want to move along and get some cash? They buy your junk cars. Covering the EP and the surrounding south side of Chicago, Dreamers is there when you need them with 24-hour service. Call them 773-410-4549. 773-410-4549. Turn a sudden nightmare into a dream with Dreamers Towing and Recovery. Talking about trees, I got to ask you, because it got brought up by Mayor Sexton on Friday in a response to the candidate that's running against you, Candidate Good. She's floated this idea of creating a park district. But the issue that we brought up the first time we talked to her, and then Mayor Sexton brought up on Friday, was that increases taxes and gives you another body that's going to tax your properties. I haven't heard anybody say that isn't true, so I'm assuming by the fact you're nodding your head like, yeah, that's true. So explain that a little bit to people who don't understand it, because they hear park district like, oh, that's cool, we're bigger, we're classier because we have a park district, but what's the good and bad, and what do you think of that?
I think the disadvantage is that, as you say, you're creating an entirely separate district that is its own taxing body, and it would have an elected board, and then they would be responsible for our recreation facilities and our recreation programming. But we have a recreation department within the village that I think operates pretty creatively and pretty efficiently for the tax dollars we do give. What I did hear from people is ideas for different types of programs they'd like to see. And I think that's natural because what we did as kids and what our parents were kind of satisfied with was different from what I did with my kids, which is different from what the new parents want for their kids. And then just things change. Like the village they started pickleball lessons, which I have taken.
I've heard about this, but I'm afraid of it.
It's great.
Pickleball?
Yeah, so it's like it's on a smaller court.
Hannah's from Louisiana. Please explain.
You can use a tennis court, and so if you go to the
it's about a racquetball court size.
Exactly, but it's outside, and you play over a net, and it's just a smaller footprint of a court, and you play with almost like big ping pong paddles. So they're wooden or composite of some sort. And then you play with a kind of like a wiffle ball.
A big giant.
Why do I feel like this was created by the same guys that came up with basketball in that movie way back when?
I think it was popularized a lot by retirees in Florida because you don't have to run around as much as tennis, but it's very fun. You and
I have never played pickleball.
I'm guessing you would beat me based on that. So the village started offering pickleball lessons. So we just finished up our second set of them. People would love to see a pickleball league. And, during COVID, the rec department couldn't do a lot of the things. Every park district or rec department, was kind of constrained in what they could do. And our rec department just got real creative and ended up coming up with some new things that became hugely popular, like the drive-in movie for Halloween.
We were at that.
Right. They'd never tried it before. Yeah. And
it was great. Kids loved it. And it was in the middle of COVID and they found a way to do something. I think that's the kind of stuff I think comes from like small groups that are doing things.
Yeah, I think they do a great job. And to the extent, people are looking for something new or something different, we are open for suggestion.
Give me one more pitch. Give me your pitch to everybody. I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk to you again before the election. So tell people why they should vote for Kelly Burke. And first gentleman, Terry Burke.
No. You should vote for Kelly Burke and the entire Good Government United Homeowners ticket because we represent experience and integrity. We've worked in the village, around the village, in the community for many years. People know us. People trust us. Evergreen Park is a great town, but it takes a lot of hard work to make something a great town. And you see our experience has borne fruit. We've got a great business. We've got great neighborhoods, and we've got a good financial picture for our village, and we got to keep that going. And, if your phone rings and it's a weird number you don't know, it might be me calling, so pick up and tell me.
Or it could be a weirdo.
Or it could be a weirdo.
Could be somebody who wants you to extend your car warranty. You never know.
Exactly. But, yeah. But maybe take a chance, pick up. It might be me, and you can tell me what's on your mind.
Awesome. And, John, before I let you go, when's the roof open? At Open Outcry. I know you're open down below. People can get in there. They can sit down. You got some good indoor dining set up in there, and you're ready to go, and you're churning along. But when does the roof open up?
I'm hoping, cross your fingers, we'll have everything off the roof, all the cabins off the roof, and all the tables and chairs up by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the latest, and people can come out and have a drink outside.
Another show is wrapped up. Another show's in the books. Another show is wrapped up. And then by the looks, it's going to be a good one. And we'll see you next week. And the nude is basement. And the nude is basement. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. And it's in the books. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. And by the looks, it's gonna be a good one. Nudie's Basement. Broadcast Basement. The Nudie's Basement. The Broad Basement. Slancha.
The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at the eppodcast.com.